and a blessed, peaceful good morning to you, wherever you are, whatever time it is. I'm out here in the Ocala National Forest, listening to the birds, feeling the energy of the trees, and just grounding down into the everlasting peace that exists here and everywhere. So I hope you're enjoying your version of Heaven on Earth today. We're going to be doing the Course in Miracles Lesson 101. God's will for me is perfect happiness. And I love the number 101. It reminds me of my college days when I was really excited to try a new subject. And the first thing you have to do is go to the 101 class where you really get to learn. Is this something I'm interested in? Do I resonate with this? Would I maybe choose this as a major, an area of focus for my entire collegiate study? So I like Lesson 101 because it is one of the basic themes in the course. And it's something that we have to have repeatedly drilled into our minds by Jesus because we're so freaking stubborn and we're so tempted by the ego to believe that we can choose something other than happiness. God's will for me is perfect happiness, but the ego says, oh no, you can complain all day today. You can be in a pissy funk all day today because of what happened yesterday or because of what happened when you were growing up and this is how you're supposed to be. The ego will prove to you that your disposition has some evidentiary reason, and it's your responsibility even to act the way that you've been acting and treat people the way that you've been treating them. All of that is not true. It's nonsense. God's will for us is to be happy. And happiness is not just like smiling and walking around like, ee. Happiness is truly knowing that you have the creator of the universe paving the way for your life, and that you don't have to believe in what your society tells you, what your upbringing, whether it's school, church, community influences. You don't have to believe any of that stuff. You can create your own path and have your own happiness at any time. It's something that you have to cultivate if you're not used to it, and it may feel a little false or fake in the beginning, but it's a sense of peace and knowing that you're not alone, knowing that your life has meaning, and knowing that if you continue to stay open-hearted and humble, that you're going to receive all the guidance that you need to keep you on this path toward your own salvation, which includes the salvation of the whole world. So let's jump into this lesson, ACIM 101. God's will for me is perfect happiness. Today, we will continue with the theme of happiness. This is a key idea in understanding what salvation means. You still believe it asks for suffering as penance for your sins. This is not so. Yet, you must think it's so while you believe that sin is real and that God's Son can sin. Yeah, we like to hold stuff against ourselves for our entire lives, usually unconsciously, and then we project it out into the world, and that becomes the source of why we're so angry or disappointed or with this doom and gloom, like at some point, all this shit's gonna hit the fan, and no, it isn't. If sin is real, then punishment is just and cannot be escaped. Salvation, thus, cannot be purchased but through suffering. We believe that. If sin is real, then happiness must be illusion, for they cannot both be true. The sinful warrant only death and pain, and it is this they ask for they know it waits for them in some form that evens the account they owe to God. They would escape him in their fear, and yet he will pursue, and they cannot escape. If sin is real, salvation must be pain. Pain is the cost of sin, and suffering can never be escaped if sin is real. Salvation must be feared, for it will kill, but slowly, taking everything away before it grants the welcome boon of death to victims who are little more than bones before salvation is appeased. Its wrath is boundless, merciless, and wholly just. That's what we believe. We're taught that somehow. It's in all of our minds somewhere, right? Come on, be honest. Who would seek out such savage punishment? Who would not flee salvation and attempt in every way he can to drown the voice which offers it to him? Why would he try to listen and accept its offering? If sin is real, its offering is death, and meted out in cruel form to match the vicious wishes in which sin is born. If sin is real, salvation has become your bitter enemy, the curse of God upon you who has crucified his son. And that's another one too, the sacrifice. We believe that God sacrificed his only son, yada, 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 yada. And it's this cruelness, this lack of love in so many ways, that story. It's such BS, but we believe it and we incorporate that into our lives, and we think sacrifice and suffering are something that we owe, and we have to unlearn that. That's what the Course in Miracles is really trying to teach us. Happiness is the opposite of that. You need these practice periods today, says Jesus. The exercises teach sin is not real, for it has no cause. Accept atonement with an open mind, which cherishes no lingering belief that you have made a devil of God's son. There is no sin. We practice with this thought as often as we can today because it is the basis for today's idea. God's will for you is perfect happiness because there is no sin, and suffering is causeless. Joy is just, and pain is but the sign you have misunderstood yourself. Fear not the will of God, but turn to it in confidence that it will set you free from all the consequences sin has wrought in feverish imagination. Say, God's will for me is perfect happiness. There is no sin. It has no consequence. That's another belief that we have. We're going to be judged and, karma. It's going to come back around and bite us in the ass, right? There is no sin. It has no consequence. So should you start your practice periods and then attempt again to find the joy these thoughts will introduce into your mind. Give these 5 minutes gladly to remove the heavy load you lay upon yourself with the insane belief that sin is real. Today, escape from madness. You are set on freedom's road, and now today's idea brings wings to speed you on and hope to go still faster to the waiting goal of peace. There is no sin. Remember this today and tell yourself as often as you can. God's will for me is perfect happiness. This is the truth because there is no sin. We're not sinners! Yay! And it makes me happy to know that, really. And I have places in me where guilt wants to creep in, and memories and regrets and different things from time to time, but it's way less than it used to be. This book helps so much with that. Let yourself off the hook. Let other people off the hook. Your brothers and sisters are just mirroring things to you, about you, so when you're upset with them, it's really you being upset with yourself. When you attack other people, you're really attacking yourself. Try to remember that. It's a little hack. It's a little game, in your mind at least. I think it's real. But we are so confused and misled and miseducated and undereducated about love and peace and joy and tranquility and happiness and all these things we can will. One of the easy things you can do is stop complaining. Don't let it come into your mind. If it does, push it away. Don't let it come out of your mouth. Don't complain. Don't gossip. These things are so low vibrational and lend themselves to reinforcing and perpetuating these untrue things that we've been taught about life, how we're supposed to suffer and sacrifice, and everybody's, subject to being judged by you and other people. And it's just so cynical and just unkind and unnecessary. Anytime you use your life force energy to have a thought that produces something you say, that's delicate. That's a gift that you're given, is your life force energy. Don't waste it on being a stick in the mud or being that snobby person. It's just, don't do that. Stop doing that, in your head or out of your mouth. Don't let it happen. Love everyone. Forgive everyone. Have compassion for people that you judged 2 minutes ago. Try that. Try switching roles. What would you do if it was you? Would you like it if people were judging you and, watching your every move and giving you the up one side and down the other? I mean, we need to learn how to love each other, right? And that brings happiness. Some of the things that the Course suggests that we do actually help manufacture happiness into our being. Like, we create all of our emotions, whether you want to believe that or not. It's never from the outside in. It's always from the inside out. So when you start to have these practices and you adjust your life so you're not unconscious all the time with what you're eating, what you're watching, what you're spending your time doing, have yourself the ability to reflect and be aware, right? And then when you start to just slow down enough to be aware, immediately you feel more peaceful. And then feeling peaceful usually generates happiness instantly. So there's little tricks that you can use aside from studying the book, but do these lessons today and believe it. God's will for me is perfect happiness. It doesn't say kind of happy or happy on the weekends or when I'm not working. Perfect happiness means all the time, and it's not fake. It's not spiritual bypassing. It's your nature that we're denying because we're confused and we've been misled, and we trust the ego more in a lot of ways than we trust God's path for our salvation, and the fact that we have Jesus and all these beings that are our support system, the trees around us. I mean, everything is there. Nature is here to show you. Everything loves you. Nothing wants to attack you or be hurt. You're just welcomed with open arms in so many places except for in our own mind. So remember that. God's will for you is perfect happiness. God's will for me is perfect happiness. And I feel like this message is so important, which is why, maybe this is why Jesus made this the 101, right? We are at the 101 level. And this is us stepping out into the world knowing that God wants us to be happy. And if we choose to argue with that, that's on us. But have that confidence today that the creator of the universe wants you to be smiling, beaming from your heart. Smile on your face too, of course, but it really starts within. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you back here again tomorrow.